Joining our panel. Really excited to have this fantastic group of individuals up here to talk about connected data solutions. So my name is Talia Danzinger. I am the Senior Product Manager for Connectera. So we are a data platform that integrates data from all different sources and works to create insights and a connected data solution for farmers and consultants to use alike. And so we've gathered this group of individuals today to talk about their experiences with using connected data platforms, all of the different sources of data that we have in the industry and how they interact on the farm. So I'll go ahead and have each of them introduce themselves briefly, talk a little bit about what they do, and then we'll go into some questions that I have ready, but also we want to get your questions from the audience as well. So I'll hand it over to Alan.
Good afternoon. I'm Alan from Coots Dairy in Jefferson, Wisconsin. I'm a second-generation dairy farmer. I farm with my dad and my brother. My dad started the farm in 1973 with one heifer calf, and now we milk 2,300 jerseys.
Jacob Toohey from Stewartville, Minnesota, and I farm with my dad and brother as well. We milk 260 cows and farm about 1,400 acres.
Hey everyone, Chad Kiefer. I work for Egg Partners in southeast Minnesota as a nutritionist, and then also farm with my family as well. We milk 300 cows with 5 robots.
Karen Luchterhan. I manage our ruminant technical team at Adiseo, and we have partnered with Connectera to offer services for utilizing our products.
All right, fantastic, thank you. So I just want to set the stage a little bit as far as we're talking about connected data. And I want to know what that means for you and your role. So when I say connected data, how does that influence your day-to-day and what you get from all the systems that are out there?
Okay, so I guess when I think of connected data, as a dairy farmer, I'm thinking of either farm-level connected data or cow-level connected data. And either way, we're pulling data from multiple sources and combining it into one central location, streamlining the information to have new data pop up from existing data sources. And hopefully this is a streamlined process where you can look at it daily, it's happening whether you want, or whether you're doing it or not, the data's there and you can look at it whenever it's convenient for you.
So I look at connected data as organized technical information that allows the dairy to be more profitable, or at least give them the best chance to be the most profitable, and it allows me to be the most efficient with my time and help customers.
So connected data in our dairy it involves all the different data sources. In our industry, there is tons and tons of information coming from many different places, and being able to have it all in one spot and compare it to each other is really useful.
Yeah, if you want to, if you.
Okay. From our perspective, the connected data is, opportunities that help pinpoint some areas that might show up on their records. I'm looking at farm level. I'm not looking at the granular day-to-day stuff. So for me, it's kind of a big picture look. Is there opportunities on that dairy that we could start searching and maybe find with the information?
Sure. So what I'm hearing too is that there's really 2 different levels of connected data. There's the cow level and then the whole herd ecosystem level. From your perspective, what is the single biggest opportunity that's created, either at that cow level or at the whole herd level, when we start connecting these data streams?
I think probably the biggest benefit to having the data connected is it makes it easier to keep everybody on the same page, right? As we have meetings with our nutritionists and veterinarian and other people involved in the business, having all the data in one place and everybody looking at the same data is really important. Everybody has their thoughts and ideas or perception of what has happened, and being able to pull up data and look at it together helps clear up some of those questions much faster.
Sure, so that connectivity and like single source of truth?
Correct.
Yeah, it's an efficiency thing. Having all the data in one spot, you're not searching for it, it's there for you. You don't have to do any manipulating to get the data where you want it to be. It's right there and it's ready.
I can just add a little bit onto that. I second what both of those guys said. I think, there's so much data, right? Everyone has tons of technologies, and just getting it into one platform like Connectera has allowed us to be way more efficient and more timely and make changes a lot faster.
So for the farmers then, let's get into some specifics. Do you have any specific examples where connecting the data across the platforms helped you solve a problem more quickly or be more efficient in getting to the root of an issue?
Yeah, example for us, so we feed straw on our dry cow diet, and earlier this summer we ran into a situation where some of the bales weren't the highest quality, and it wasn't really communicated back and forth between feeder and between myself, and there was, from Connectera, pulling data from multiple sources, like for us, Cow Manager, we saw a rumination drop. And then Connectera, or Connected Data, I guess, together, showing a briefing for us every Monday, pointed out a dry matter intake reduction the following Monday. This is stuff that, especially on the dry cow side where we don't have daily milk weights to follow, this is something we wouldn't have seen otherwise, and kind of helped cover up a communication gap where we could address this problem from there.
Great example.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a exact specific example, but what happens a lot of times in our meetings, right? Like I said earlier, everybody has kind of a perceived idea of what happened. We'll be talking about a problem that occurred, or a drop in production, or dry matter intake, and somebody will chime in, well, it was really hot then. Well, in a couple clicks, you can compare and see, well, actually it wasn't hot then. The heat hit 2 weeks after that. We saw this drop before that. So having all the data in one place and keeping everybody on the same page with historical data has been really important for us.
Sure. Do you want to answer as a farmer as well?
Yeah, and I think I can add to it as an advisor and a farmer. The part that I really like about Connectera is the timeline piece of it. I don't know how many folks are aware of Connectera and the timeline part, but it is really valuable. You can enter in any piece of information that you want, any feed change. So if you're switching to a different haylage, or if you have a heat spell, anything that you want to enter in the timeline, it allows you to evaluate that data over time. So from myself, from an advisor, it just allows me to analyze the data quicker. And a specific example would be this. Obviously, this summer we had a lot of ups and downs with the heat, right? So I have a couple herds that were extremely overcrowded, and this summer was really hot, right? And I was able to see how big of a dip some of these herds took with the overcrowding. And one of my most overcrowded herds over the past 3-4 years, they didn't see the drop like they thought they did, but this year they dropped 12 pounds of energy-corrected milk, and we never got it back. So it's just those little things that you can really pick up.
Sure, yeah. So from that advisor perspective, how has having connected data and the broader data ecosystem changed your ways of working, or even the way you give recommendations and participate in team meetings on the farm?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of answers and solutions to that. For me, it just allows me to stay connected and feel like I'm on the farm all the time, and it allows me to just stay connected with everyone and make changes faster if needed. That's where I really see the advantages. And the farm feels like I'm engaged and vice versa. So I really, from a nutritionist standpoint, it allows me to do a better job.
Sure.
And I will admit we're still pretty new working with Connectera and just kind of learning the system ourselves. Sorry. So from my perspective as an advisor, or actually some of Chad's herds, it's been fun to look at, and you're talking about some of the cow comfort things. Just by looking at different herds, almost an opportunity.
Cheese. Are you looking for some great Wisconsin cheese to take home with you today? Stop by
Yes.
our Dairy Showcase Village at the far south end of the outdoor trade mall near the Spark Hotel. featuring cheese from Schrader Case, Babcock Dairy, and Kramer Cheese. Stop and get yours today.
Okay, stop and get your cheese today.
I'm expecting free samples to arrive anytime after that announcement.
So, yeah, kind of looking at some of the herds he had, stocking density and their production or their somatic cell count. So that provides an opportunity as a talking point, I assume, right? We could go out and talk to these dairies of what can we do on farm to help them, or at least realize that that is impacting their herd more than they think.
Sure. So overall, for everybody up here, what technology do you find most valuable now that it's connected through data platforms? So was there any technology that suddenly became more valuable, amplified, used differently when added into the other data sources that are available?
So we use Cow Manager, like I said. Cow Manager has a third module for nutrition, and we don't pay for that. The biggest benefit I see from the nutrition module is pen level rumination data, where if you don't have that, you just get your individual cow level. That's something that Connectera was able to put together for us, so we can see actual rumination changes on a pen level. Like I said in the example, our dry cow diet, we saw a change in pen level rumination because it was able to compile that data for us.
For me, the biggest advantage so far is being able to track energy-corrected milk feed efficiency on a daily basis and income over feed cost on a daily basis. So in the past, you quarterly evaluate it, or you do it randomly. Now we can look at it every day. We can look at it weekly. That's where I think, for me, that is a huge advantage. Energy-corrected milk feed efficiency has a direct relationship with income over feed costs. So I really am going to find that as a huge value over time.
So kind of turning a critical eye inwards maybe, where are we falling short of true system integration? And this is probably especially important for our other industry folks in the audience. Where do we need to build some more bridges and get better integration between our systems to overcome those challenges?
One area I think would be ration formulation programs. There's an opportunity, I think, with that one.
I mean, the old saying is, data in is only as good as it is, coming as it is coming out, right? So I think, for me, we have to just do a better job of getting the information into the cloud, right? There's still a lot of information that doesn't, get into the cloud, so Connectera can pull it in and put it into the dashboard. So I think that's still an ongoing challenge.
And kind of adding on that, we got to make sure the data we're putting in is good data too, and that it's representing what we think it's representing. And the other thing, I'd like to see someone take on the individual cow level of data analysis. Right now, I guess I haven't seen anything other than if you were to follow like a full, one company's line of products, like if you had all of DeLavelle's line of products, they could combine it and do an individual cow report for you. But someone to throw all of your different individual cow data sources in, I think needs to come.
I think as part of the industry, one of the things we struggle with yet is the data that we have in systems, right? Whose data is it? Is it the farmer's data, that's the farmer that's paying for its data, or is it the company that's selling the services data? Because that becomes, when we're trying to get data into one place, that's always the holdback, right? Who's willing to give up what and why, and what forms it can come in, and how that all works.
Sure. So how do you see collaboration evolving between farmers, advisors, and then the companies producing those products that the farmers and advisors are using, evolving as connected systems become more integrated?
I think to some extent a lot of that has evolved already, right? Like just on our farm, right, having connected data and having multiple people have access to that data, when a consultant like a nutritionist or veterinarian shows up, in the past, a lot of it had been, it would take them boots on the ground time to get a feel for what was going on. Now they have the data at their fingertips, or alerts happen before they come. They already have an idea of what might be going on, and they can dig into something and provide more value while they're on the farm.
I think I guess two things I thought. One was from farm to farm, sharing data, especially to try and eliminate some environmental factors, like when we're looking in the summer and we see a production drop. Is it our farm that's dropping, or is everyone dropping? Can we compare with farms in our area? And if we have one central data point to pull that from, I think that'd be a huge advantage for us. And I think the other thing would be, when you're talking about like a particular company's product, being able to track, is it doing what it's supposed to do? And can we use the timeline function to say, all right, we put this product in, watch, and is it having the effects that we thought it would have?
And just to add on to Jacob's first point, being able to compare charts, any graph that you want to look at from farm to farm over a time period, I've been able to use that quite extensively the last few months, and that's been extremely valuable. And I can toggle off the farm name, and you can show the producer how they compare to another farm on energy corrected milk or whatever metric you want to look at. So that's been really valuable.
And I'm going to say both of those. I think being able to compare herds is valuable. So as an advisor role, you can have them and hopefully be benchmarking and gives you a talking opportunity with that producer. And also, like Jacob mentioned, the timeline function, I think from our perspective, it makes it faster for them to make decisions and see whether or not the product worked, for example, that they put in, or the management change they made, if it worked. So.
Sure. I think a lot of the root of this last answer was around communication. So how would you say your communication has changed, either farmer to consultant, consultant to farmer, since integrating more technologies and using more of a connected platform?
I think one way it's changed is, at this point, some of our consultants will be reaching out saying, hey, I saw this happened, instead of us being the ones to be like, sending them a message, hey, we've got this going on. It's nice that they've already got to step up on it.
Yeah, kind of same thing there. Looking at the same data, knowing what you're looking at ahead of time, having access to it. So Chad's my nutritionist, and prior to this, when we switched over to robots, all of our milk data used to be in Dairy Comp, and because we did testing. After robots, we stopped testing. All of our milk data was in DelPro, and it wasn't transferring accurately over to Dairy Comp. And so we've had several issues where Chad's used to running numbers off of Dairy Comp, and he'd come in with numbers that weren't accurate to what DelPro said. Now this is a situation where we're looking at data from the same point, the same spot. We know we're seeing the same numbers.
Right, that's a very good point, Jacob. And you can sort it by test day, you can sort it by the tank, adjusted milk. I mean, you can really sort it however you want. And yes, I think it's just made things a lot faster, right? I mean, I can look at it and it's yesterday's data. That's what is really valuable. So I think it's really neat how fast it is.
Okay. So looking ahead in 5 to 10 years, how do you see this landscape changing? So do you see the role of data changing, or do you see the future of these dairy operations and how they center themselves around data changing? What does that landscape look like?
We're going to become more and more dependent on data, and the data points available are going to only increase. So I think having some sort of connected data platform is going to be extremely important going forward, as there's more data that we just get swamped with and can't look over and can't fully interpret on its own. The potential to better utilize the technology we have and are going to have is going to be enhanced by using connected data.
I think we all know, AI is here already, right? And it's going to continue to, be more and more, right? And Connectera uses that, and I think that in 5 to 10 years, it's really going to advance rapidly.
I think, Talia, our lunch conversation was on predictive, like when do you cull that cow? Maybe that's going to be the next step with all this connected data is based on previous lactation. This cow is going to be high risk and she should go. You don't breed her, just get her, choose not to breed and sell her later. So I could see that's some of the future of predictive metrics that we'll be able to give producers.
Sure, absolutely, that shift to predictive. And this next question might kind of go into that because we increase our accuracy and value in our predictions the more data points we have to incorporate. So if you could get one piece of data connected today that isn't already, what would it be?
I guess one that I thought, and maybe it's already happening already, is everyone has cameras on farm now, right? Or most people do. Just being able to use that data more and integrate it into Connectera. I know, Cattle Care is out there. There's a few that use that technology already, but being able to pull it into Connectera and advance it even further and maybe use it for, some employee management type advantages.
I guess like milk price and feed prices, having that, if we can work with our co-ops and if we work with our processors just to have that directly integrated so it's one less step to add in.
On our farm in particular, I think it would be useful to have more pen data as far as temperature, humidity, wind speed. We have different freestall barns as our farm has evolved, right? Every barn we've built has been different, and to be able to pull that in together, and also I would like to see water intakes by pen.
So for advisors specifically, as you're working with these different farms, what's one piece of data or an insight that you wish every farm had at their fingertips?
It's an easy answer, Connectera.
Well, maybe of the Connectera platform too. Is there a single piece of data that if you were able to get armed with that before you walked on a dairy, what would that be?
I'm just throwing a random one, but like profitability somehow of whatever metric they utilize.
Okay, that's good. Fair. So I want to get into some closing comments here, and then hopefully have a couple minutes for questions from the audience. But especially for the farmers, but advisors too, what is one piece of advice that you'd give a farmer just starting that process of bringing all of this data together and connecting these systems and becoming integrated?
I think it's probably being diligent about the platforms that you use and understanding how the data is managed, who has access to it, whose data it is, how able that data is able to be transferred and shared. I think one of the big things about the platform I really like and value is the historical aspect of it. If we switch herd management softwares or different things like that, we know that we still have historical data to go back on.
I would say with the data, make sure you know how Connectera is calculating the numbers they're putting out. Like we have an example, so milk ship data, we're a robot farm, so we never stop milking. And so depending on when the milk hauler comes and picks up, that'll change what our milk shipped is. And if you look at that, it's going to show a larger variation in data. So knowing where Connectera is pulling from, how the data is being calculated to make sure that the data you're providing is accurate.
And one thing I would add is if you're considering Connectera, the onboarding process, just take it seriously and do it efficiently. The Connectera does a really good job with the onboarding process. Julie and the rest of the team, they do a phenomenal job of, and Talia, everyone does a phenomenal job of training you and getting you to understand how it works. And once you understand it, it really works well.
And then last question here before we go to the audience. If you could wave a magic wand and solve one of the challenges that would allow you to fully realize the value that lies in that connected data, what would it be?
I don't. One thing I wrote down was just, the challenge on a farm is just being consistent, right? So if you can look at the data on Connectera and know that, hey, here's a problem, I need to work on this. First drop times, feed drop times on a dairy, right? We want to try and narrow that down to 15 minutes, right? And if you're off, you can see it. You can see what your feeder's doing, or any metric you want to look at. It's just consistency, and I think having Connectera will allow you to be more consistent and more efficient on the dairy.
Yeah, going back to the data accuracy thing, if you could always know that everything that went in is accurate and the number you're getting is exactly what you think it is, that'd be a huge advantage.
Awesome. Well, thanks, anybody. Any closing comments? Anything you wish I would have brought up and I didn't that you want to end with? Otherwise, let's turn over to the audience. Are there any questions for our panel while they're here? Yeah. Yeah, if you say it, I'll repeat it for everyone to hear.
Specifically to Chad, I guess, or as you're looking at now at income over feed cost, kind of as a daily metric, and you're not used to looking at that, do you get, so looking at more information, more specific information more frequently, when do you react, I guess? Is it can you react too much where the tail wags the dog in a sense, right? You know what I'm getting at?
Did everybody hear that okay?
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't been looking at it long enough yet to probably make the best decision on it yet. And I think, you don't want to make too many changes too rapidly. But, when things are going not in the right direction that the dairy wants, I think you can make changes quicker, right? I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've been able to evaluate, especially with the timeline piece. Like if, let's say, we move into a different haylage, or, we're adding smartamine into the ration and you want to evaluate if it worked. Like, you can analyze it very quickly. And income over feed will change based on that.
Were you ever surprised at all by it going up, going down, and going back up, or having a day in there where it goes down and having, you know what I'm saying? Like, have you ever seen that pattern?
For sure, yeah. And there's a lot of data points. Like, some of them you have to kind of disregard. So, especially on income over feed cost, I don't think you can look at that one maybe from a daily basis, but you gotta evaluate it and kind of use your judgment.
So anyone else run into that experience where there's maybe like too early of a signal, or how do you make a decision as to, is this significant enough for me to take action, because you're getting data so much more rapidly? No?
Yeah, no, right. It's like Chad said, you got to weigh it. You got to look at, where's this data coming from? What specifically happened? Obviously, there's other environmental factors that are involved in any sort of data point. So weighing all that stuff and kind of on a per case situation.
Sure. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of it is that human interaction between the data points itself and what we see as boots on the ground, for sure. Any other questions from the audience? Yeah. Okay, yes. So the question is more on our AI engine. Is it focused on a single herd, or is it across all herds? And I would say that the answer is yes, right? Like there's case-by-case bases where we're looking at things within a single herd. So an example of one of the things that we might look at within a single herd would be like correlation analysis. So we see one metric increasing. What else is increasing or decreasing proportionately within the same herd? But there's other AI tools that we can apply across all of our herds. Because it's performing a function for us, or serving up some data to the farm, or performing some greater analysis. So I think it's a little situational that way. Great question. Yeah. Okay, the question was genetic data. Right now, we do not have genetic data in the Connectera platform specifically, but I would say it's on our roadmap along with all the other connected solutions out there, right? We have to start linking that genotypic and phenotypic performance, for sure. Any other questions from the audience? Yeah.
Do you find yourself like crossing multiple platforms together? Are there times where you like take the data from a platform and you like just graph that platform's data in like different ways than that platform doesn't see?
Okay, sure. Good question. So the question would be, when we bring some data in that might come from a platform like maybe milk weights from the parlor or dairy data that we're getting from the dairy herd management system, are there times that we start to look at that data differently than the system itself? That's kind of what it sounds like. Yeah, so I can answer that a little bit, and then if you guys are using it in any other way, I think that'd be super helpful. But I think thinking about how a dairy is going to manage their cows, for example, days in milk breakdowns. We know that we really care, especially in those robot herds, about times milked and milk production by each days in milk group, so that we understand if our permission tables are working, if our feed tables are working. And I think that's one thing that we have kind of automated, is we know that this is going to be important. So let's make sure that we can parse that data and display that data in those segregations that are important to the management of the farm. So let's look at things by days in milk or stage of lactation, by lactation group, by production group, high cows versus low cows. So I would say there's another layer of how we kind of stratify that data in order to increase the value of that data. And then two, increase the value of the data when we add another data source. So I would say that that early lactation data becomes maybe even more valuable when we're looking at times milked and milk production and dry matter intake, right? The more that we can bring that together, the better story we get on the cows. But anything that you're using on that end that you look, in a platform solution versus the data source?
I would say every platform, kind of has their own advantages. So like Dairy Comp, we use that for all of our repro analysis. We're used to it. I mean, we know how to use it, and it has a ton of functions that we like with it. But what Connectera does really well is graphically showing, all trends, but especially like with milk production. So, we'll kind of jump around from platform to platform based on how the platform is kind of designed.
Yeah, just to add on to that a little bit, what I've suggested my customers doing is if they have, let's say, the Horizon, on one desktop or whatever, software they have on one desktop, and then Dairy Comp on the other one, or PC Dart, get another screen that has Connectera. So have 2 to 3 screens that are right in front of you that you can, if you're looking at your daily reports for Dairy Comp, you have Connectera right above you, and it allows you to look at it more often. It allows you to enter data into the timeline. At least that's what I've seen as being valuable, is to have another screen there so you can see it.
Right. Anything else? We probably have time for maybe one more question, one or two. Awesome. Well, if not, thank you so much for coming. Let's give our panel a round of applause. I think everybody was great today. And then I'll stick around for a couple minutes, probably outside. We'll let the next group come in here, but would love to answer any other questions you have. So thank you.